What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Revolution. So today I wanted to get into a conversation that is either going to piss some people off or is going to make some people happy, that is said. But I realize that my videos have been coming across a little bit like my boy Busy said. Yeah, they've been a little salty, not without reason, but I want to up the positivity because problems without solutions are like assholes. Everybody has one. So let's try to offer some critiquing, some constructive criticism here that I hope the dev team can go about, while also examining some of the positive things inside the game, right? I can't promise you. Let's talk about improvements that we need, right? In my previous video, I spoke to you guys about the pricing model. One of the biggest hindrances to the game currently, especially where they're pushing towards players. Specifically, they want players to build up multiple characters across the space, as the pricing model does not support this. There's no way in the world that most players can support this. You've heard some of the top level whales in the game basically say, I don't want to build up a character because the time and investment that it costs me to build up this character have the transmutation system. So let's talk about the Marvel Mall pricing, because it needs to be adjusted. Number one, first up and foremost, is that this costume gacha system, it needs to be removed. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I would much rather see this costume pricing model change to direct pricing, meaning whether it was you selling off standard costumes or regional costumes or special costumes, and you choose a pricing model, whether you say it's $20 for a costume or whether you say it's $30 for a costume, even if you said it was $50 for a costume. A direct pricing model instead of the gacha system would be far better to most players. It's not like you guys had, Marvel Future Revolution devs haven't already made the statement that the game is pay to win. Anytime we see stats on uniforms inside games, we already look at those games as pay to win models. Marvel Future Revolution is literally stuck in that thing. It is literally one of those things that, any new player who is not going to probably be from the East or something like that, it's going to be a major deterrent from them playing. It's going to throw a lot of players off and throw a lot of players away from the game, because nobody wants to hear pay to win. Nobody desires a pay to win model game. This is one of the reasons why I like Marvel's Avengers, because the costumes are cosmetic. When you play a lot of MMORPGs that you automatically know are free-to-play models or pay-to-play models, meaning like subscription-based, you automatically understand that the costumes are cosmetic. They don't really provide your character any greater, stats than another character can have. We know that's not the case with Marvel Future Fight. Now, some of the best in slot costumes for certain characters are not necessarily inside the special costume variety, which isn't a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, this is a pretty fairly good costume for Doctor Strange inside here, because it has defense pierce. It also has supervillain damage decrease inside here, so it's pretty nice, especially because it has the mixed art classical level. But we need to see this removed. I don't think there's a problem with the gacha mechanic on summon companions. I don't think there's a problem with the gacha mechanic on mega cards or dimension boxes, for all that matter. However, I do believe there needs to be a pity system involved, and I understand that these tokens are supposed to represent a pity system, but a pity system is not a pity system if it involves another layer of RNG, and that's essentially what we have with the Omega tokens. You're basically paying for this. Now, at some point, this is the cost to get these 500 tokens to get this costume, but we can see the problem here is that you need players to spend that kind of money. Well, at the draw rates that they currently have inside the game, that is asinine. A lot of players are going to be turned off from that, because now you're looking at, I need 500 coins in order to get not a special costume but a regional costume, and I need 2,000 of these pity tokens to get a special costume. So by instance, we're saying that every 100 tokens is like $150 US. That means that any of these costumes are going to cost an astronomically cost. So you see how you're pricing people out from even playing the game and trying to achieve things inside the game. The rate at which a normal player would do this is just asinine. The same thing for your companions. This is the reason why I say the pricing model overall in the game needs to be improved and changed. Like for instance, the gacha cards, it's not necessarily a bad mechanic in terms of, you know, you're trying to draw these, especially as more cards get added to the pool and so forth, but you want a gacha mechanic that says there's a pity system. Hate to say this, but go take a look at Marvel Future Fight. You know, certain cards are up inside there for a certain amount of time and they are jumped. You guys have done that with the festivals, but add a pity system inside there. I know that is going to be hard with the few cards that you have now, but as the cards increase, this is going to be something that's needed. This is you guys' fault at the development team level, because you guys have pushed the cart way before the horse, and you've literally given us stage 5 game mechanics as if though we were in year 4 of our game, and we're literally at the base layer. That's you guys' fault because of your implementation and design. So the dimension tokens, I don't know why that the dimension tokens currently include all of the 5-star cores and things like that or whatever inside of there, but it doesn't include any of the 6-star cores. We get 6-star special companion skill cards, but we don't get any of the 6-star cores. The 6-star cores need to be added to the game. They need to be added to this dimension box. Even at this rate right here of 0.5% would be interesting enough, but they need to be added inside here, especially because you look at most players and you look at the money spent by most players to obtain the 6-star cores they have now, and it's astronomical. Not all your player base is going to have access to that to improve characters across the board. It just acts as a big factor for players to just like, nah, I'm good on that. I'm not going to be able to hit those levels because even if I save up all of these cores, I'm not going to be able to get these. We're going to get to that core system, but that also goes into play talking about changing the crystals cost inside here. Our crystal cost should not be $89 for 9,000 crystals. That should not be the cost, or 10,000, 11,000 crystals. We basically need a crystal cost that is equivalent across the board to give us some kind of dollar ratio value. It's the same thing as going to the casino. I know I'm going to lose money ultimately in the end, but losing money when I know I started off behind the power curve, that's not cool. No player wants that. So I really highly suggest that these crystal charges be changed. Now let's jump into the core system, because we need to address the RNG rates on cores. Currently, if you went into the game and you came over here to your core synthesizer, the problem for your cores is that when you start at level 3, meaning going from a 2-star to 3-star, you automatically get a 50% bonus. 3 should be the base level. This goes all the way up to 6. Obtaining 3-star cores or 2-star cores, as you want to do for going into battle challenge, 3-star should be the very base level. There should be a 100% success chance from going to 2 to 3-star cores. But for some reason or another, when we go to 3 to 4-star cores, now we get to a 50% rate. Why does it drop that way? This is ridiculous. It should literally be a 100% success chance from going to 2 to 3. It should be like a 75% chance from going to 3 to 4, a 50% chance from going to 4 to 5, and a 25% chance, let's say, from going to 5 to 6. The rates right now are ridiculous. They're terrible in terms of improvement inside here in terms of characters. So you're basically essentially hoarding cores like you see here inside my inventory, and you're hoarding these cores with no ability to actually obtain 4-star cores. Where you've had some people who spent obscene amount of money and they still have not even sniffed a 6-star core from smashing these together. Basically, I'm holding on to cores that I know I'm never going to smash together, because of why? It just doesn't make sense for me to smash them, right? So the core system in this game is probably one of the biggest things that players have addressed in terms of feedback, and it's one of the biggest things that the developers have literally shied away from in terms of talking about in patch notes, talking about in developer notes, talking about in chilling with Danny Koo sessions, and it needs to be addressed because the system fundamentally is inherently flawed, especially when it affects our battle badges so much. Because the battle badge system inside the game is like a core component to what you're talking about in terms of receiving. Now, before we get into battle badges and talking about those, I want to talk about one thing that has a real big thorn in my side, and that was the addition. I guess addition through subtraction works here. of this system, the training grounds system. I think this mode needs to be scrapped 100%. I'm going to say that flat out. I think this mode needs to be scrapped 100%. I should not have to go into, and I've said this before, so it's just me reiterating, I should not have to go into a special server in order to level up characters, and I should not be treated as though my time inside the server should be limited or gated based on leveling up my character, which is an innate part of RNG. It's an innate part of the grinding mechanic inside the game. You want the players to be logged in, and you want them to stay logged in for as long as possible, especially when you're hemorrhaging players currently. It should not be like I'm trying to, like, does Final Fantasy, when they are at the peak of their success, go, hey, I'm going to cap people out from the time they can grind? No, that's not the case. I want players logged in. I want concurrent player base to feel like they can stay in. All of this stuff that's going into the reward system for your training grounds should literally be within inside your game environment, meaning, you know, the normal areas that we fight in, these, you know, instances that we have around the world. What you need to do is basically just remove the training ground servers and add more servers, so that way the player base gets more spread out. And as the player base grows, hopefully, then you just add more servers, so that way people can farm in various areas and so forth like that. Which brings me to a next point that I have. Put the XP back in Dark Zone. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to piss some people off, right? But you want to foster a PvP environment. You want to make it competitive, and you want players to feel like there's a reason for them to be inside the Dark Zone. Hey guys, make higher XP gains in the Dark Zone compared to the PvE areas and the normal world. Remove the training time tickets. This is a complete monetization effort that does not make players want to log in or stay logged in. That's the bottom line. It reintroduced the XP back in the Dark Zone. It gave reason for players to be inside there with the PvP elements inside there. You then increase the XP gains that are gotten inside there, so that way if players really want to stay inside the Dark Zone and grind, that's what they can do. There's no reason for you to limit the time in the Dark Zone either. Like, what is the whole point and stipulation for time gating the Dark Zone? There's no reason to do that. You want PvP to be a successful thing. Treat the Dark Zone as a PvP server. You've already limited the rewards inside the Dark Zone, right? So the rewards inside the Dark Zone are limited. It's not like I'm going to be able to, you know, kill more than 2 prime targets and 7 of the most wanted targets that appear inside those areas. What you're just doing is fostering a PvP server where players can literally go in there and hash it out. It separates your PvE community from your PvP community, which is toxic on every levels, and any game developer that's making a game MMORPG in this day and age understands that you have to do this because it is so toxic. So just remove them. It just makes sense. Transmutation is an interesting thing, right? And I'm going to say this because, and it's going to piss off a portion of the player base, I guarantee you. So there should be crystal purchased options inside of your transmutation. And hear me out on this one, guys. Hear me out on this. And no game is free to play at its core. No game is free to play. A lot of games, you know, developers have to make money some places and somehow, right? So literally for your comic cards and things like this, the main drive that players are trying to do is they're trying to roll cards specifically for exclusive stats, or they're trying to transmute gear specifically over to other characters. Let's just get rid of the rigmarole here. Like I said already, you guys have already made it clear that this is a pay-to-win system. I only see the game being successful if you remove that ideology in the first place, but I highly doubt the development team is going to do that. So what we're really looking at here is just add a mechanic in here where paying a certain amount of crystals will literally allow a player to re-roll a stat exclusively for something, or at the same time add in a cost control for free-to-play players as well, where you have an RNG gold option with a pity timer, or you choose to pay the gold equivalent of what the crystal cost that you implement is inside here, so that way players can work. So you say like it was 100 crystals is going to basically be what it is going to be for you to select a character and select a stat that you're looking for. Well, now if you pay that 100 crystals and the equivalency of 100 crystals is 500,000 gold, so your free-to-play players would have to save up 500,000 gold in order to convert, you know, a card over to an exclusive stat that they choose and pick, or just and then have a free-to-play option, so or an RNG option inside it where players can pay less gold and just get RNG, or just pay that gold cost outright for the equivalency. Not saying that it should be 100 crystals to re-roll a Omega card, because we understand how strong that makes a character, but should have players less inclined to even use the transmutation system if you already address the Marvel Mall pricing that you have inside here, reducing some of the costs that's inside here and removing some of the costume specializations. I think a lot of people would just be more apropos to being like, hey, I'm gonna pay for this new magic costume that they put in the shop for $24.99 because I really want that magic costume, because the costumes in this game are great across the board. I would say that there's not a single costume in this game that I think looks like trash. There's a lot of detail in the costumes, and I think the development team, the artists and everybody like that does a great job on these costumes, and they should be rewarded for the detail that they put into these costumes, because it doesn't go unnoticed that these costumes are definitely good looking. So see, I gave you guys some positives there, right? And I do agree, despite me complaining about the magic transmutation still not being available a month and a half after launch, I'm going to say this outright. If it wasn't that you rolled it out the way you did, I wouldn't have a problem. It's the problem of informing your audience, meaning that the costumes and Omega cards being transmuted to new characters, everybody understands that you have to make money as developers. Add in and let players know that those things will not be available for this amount of time post-launch. My idea is 60 days post-launch should give you enough time not to have to re-roll costumes or whatever, but give that option inside there at the very least. So now players are getting to free-to-play option versus the pay-to-play option, and they know what they have to work for and they have to work towards in order to make those things really successful. If you imagine, I want to re-roll a costume over here and somebody tells me it's going to cost me $1 million gold in order to re-roll a costume, now I can work towards getting $1 million gold or 3 million gold, whatever it is that you want to choose inside there. Make it an option that's longevity's sake that a player could do. Like, I mean, if you took the training grounds for 3 hours and so forth, you said you could probably earn like $1 million gold over there. So make that an option for players to do. Give that an option inside there. I think players would be reticent, they wouldn't be so reticent to spin inside the Marvel Mall for a character that they really want to invest in, or a new character. Like, I like Spider-Man, I like Captain America. If the costumes were more available, I'd probably pay the costume prices for there. I've done it in Marvel Future Fight. I've got a whole roster of 230 characters, and I can tell you I've bought a lot of costumes inside that game, right? And those had stats on them as well. So think about that, right? So that brings us to the costume enhance. Over here we have a huge problem with costumes in this game, and one of the things that is going to limit a lot of players from wanting to invest in a new character, and the reason why they choose to use the transmutation, is because the implementation of the costume enhancement in this game is terrible. When you look at, most players are looking down the barrel of having to collect 10,000 pieces of gear. Yeah, 10,000 pieces of gear, which are time gated behind a training grounds area for 3 hours unless you pay to play for that scenario. Then you're literally looking at a player going, well, I don't want to invest in another character because it's going to take me forever to get from 1-star to 3-star. So you're looking at like, I think somebody did the math early on, and it was about 10,000 pieces of 1-star gear, with the equivalency of what you were going to need to get to, yeah, you guessed it, 6-star. And that's not 6-star nano fusion. That's literally just 6-star. So for me to take, these boots over here, these modern boots from 1 to 6, I'm going to need 10,000 pieces of gear. And that's just on the one item. That's terrible, guys. It's terrible, especially when you consider that whether you're playing Spec Ops, Dog Water mode, or whether you're just luckily getting the items, you might get lucky and get some 2 stars, 3 stars, or whatever like that, and that might accelerate you just a little bit, but it's not enough, not for us to invest in multiple characters. So these costume enhancements, I think that they need like at the very minimum, like a 30% reduction in overall resources needed for gear pieces to go from 1 to 6. Just my idea here. Next up, the thing I want to talk to you guys about, specializations, right? Specializations is one of those things that we really got to tee off on. I don't care about a pity system inside here. I don't care about a fail stacking system inside here. The specialization, especially if you want us to invest in characters overall, it needs to be removed. The fail chance for specializations, which is the core, of building my characters, this should not come down to chance. This comes down to I put in the work to build this character and acquire these materials. You then allow me to level up my character. That's the basis of it. There should be no RNG related to how I build up my character, whether or not I successfully complete a stat or a tree inside here that's literally core and foundational to the character. Remove that. And the same thing is you should be removing the daily crystal cost to repeat. Just increase the number of runs per day for raids to 3. That's it. Bottom line, repeat them to 3. That incentivizes players to do multiple runs for a given day, and that way they can then build up multiple characters. I'm not building up multiple characters across this when I know that I've got 1 run per day and maybe an additional 2 runs per week because of the raid reward tickets, which is just trash. This is like, so 7 of these a day. If you think about that, that means 7 a week plus the 2 tickets that you give. That's not a lot. It's just not a lot. So it's 9 runs basically. Even if I got 3 of these a day, I'm basically looking at 27. That's not a lot, man. It's not a lot at all. So then we need to change that. So finally, going into something else, Dimension Duels, Omega War, and Alliance Mega War, these need matchmaking improvements. There should be no reason that I'm a player that sat at 100 power, 100 level, 200 plus squad power, and 1.5 million in raw power, and you're telling me that I'm getting paired up with somebody level 60. What? These matchmaking needs to happen. On the same token, your Omega War tokens, I know what I did there. Your Omega War tokens and your Dark Zone tokens, there needs to be a shop. The RNG layer needs to be removed from the level of badge that you're getting inside these things. We need a prescribed cost. So let's say the only things that should have RNG in this game with respect to badges is the stats and the slots. That's it. There should be no other RNG layer to it. The stats and the slots is it. We shouldn't have a third layer of whether or not I get the badge. Now I got to deal with whether I get the badge. Now I got to deal with whether I get the stats that I want. Now I got to deal with whether I get the slots that I want. We shouldn't have that. Your 6-star badges should probably cost like 2,000 Dark Zone tokens. So that way, that's your total top reward. So you're only getting 1 badge per week at that rate. Maybe add in some Sin Particle costs inside there and add Sin Particles into the Dark Zone. Your Omega badges should probably cost like 10,000 Omega War tokens at the 6-star level. So that way, you're only getting like 1 per week. And that way, you're facilitating rotation. And we already have the workshop where they have the Omega tokens and the 6-star, the Dark Zone tokens. The Dark Zone tokens are inside the workshop for you to reroll, which is a good thing. Let's do the same thing for the Omega War tokens. Also, can we get some kind of fucking excuse me my language, can we get some kind of distinguishing for these for the tokens inside here, like, so that way we can tell the difference between maybe it's inside here or not, but whatever. The Dark Zone tokens and the Omega War tokens, I know they got the little reflective light on them inside your inventory. Like if you were to look at these right here, like I could tell most of these are blitz badges inside here, but then when we look at like these over here, and we just got the little shiny emblem on there, so it's like a battle badge or whatever. I don't even think I've gotten a 6-star Omega War token, but I can't tell the difference between the 2 of them, so I don't really know. Maybe there's an indication on there, but I can tell you right now, I've really not cared about these so much because they're just so hard to obtain that it's just ridiculous. This needs a token shop. Add the Omega War badges to the workshop. Submit the 5 badges for the reroll, the same way we have the Blitz badges and stuff like that. Lastly, the one thing that I really want to hit on is the improvement that is needed for the workshop. Regional gear drops should not be reflected where we've had, I don't know how many YouTube content creators, not part of the content creator core, who have literally tried to pull regional gear from the workshop, and a lot of players have done this out of 100, and a lot of players have had the max amount that I've seen somebody have is 3 drops out of 100. And that's like 1 star, 2 star drops, not 4 stars or anything like that. 1 star, 2 star drops out of 100. That is not a low drop rate. That is an incredibly low drop rate. It's something that we need to look at and improve. I would love to hear you guys' comments in the section below. Look, there's a lot of good things about this game, and I think we all want to see it succeed. I think that there's just gonna need to be changes, because right now we're looking down the barrel at a whole lot of games, AAA and mobile, that are going to come out in the near future that are going to compete with this game. And there's no way in my mind, like we seen with Marvel Realm of Champions, that this game realistically survives in its current form. I don't think that it has the play mechanics and the popularity that a game like Marvel Strike Force has. I don't think that it has the longevity and the player base that a game like Marvel Future Fight has, and I don't think that it has the intrinsic value or the fun that a game like Marvel Contest of Champions has. Those games, you look at them and they've been out for years now. Marvel Strike Force is probably like the baby of those three, but they've been battling and jockeying for position. But especially with their greed mechanics inside there, we got to do better. I just really feel like we got to do better, and I really want to see this game succeed. I want to see this game grow into the potential that it could be. It could be a very, very good mobile RPG, but right now you're going to have a lot of players who are going to be looking towards, DCUO producers to come up with a Marvel MMO that, is AAA based and is literally going to satiate their needs. This be a great mobile platform for it to have, but for this game to have, but it's got to be better. Right now, I would love to see what the Q4 numbers are. I can't wait to see what those are released, so that way we can see what them are. I would love to see what the player base numbers, but we gotta see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Appreciate your time. Until next time, peace.